Don't give up, you know it's true. You gotta do what you wanna do.
Okay, let's see what's important in August 11th, 2017, the economics paper, right? The economics paper in the Hindu. So what are the important concepts in economy? What is important for the prelims? What is important for the mains, UPSC point of view, say? So all these things will be discussed. Now, the first news is that Adani Power Q1 net loss widens to rupees 453 crores. Okay, this is the first news. Now, why did this loss happen? The reason that they have given is because of higher fuel cost. Okay, the fuel cost has become higher, and that is why this loss has happened for the Adani group. Now that's a small minuscule thing. Now let's go to the next one, which is an economic term. I always told you economic terms which are there given in the economics paper in the Hindu are always important. You have to just know the expansion, you have to know the abbreviation, you have to know the meaning of it, what it stands for, and like how you can use it for the mains descriptive answers, okay, where all you can insert them. Now here we have EBITDA, EBITDA. So what is EBITDA? This is the economic term which is given. It's simple. It's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. Okay, so it is the earnings which a company has before we deduct the interest or tax or the depreciation. What is depreciation? See, depreciation is something, if you're buying a machine, okay, you have a machine or you have a guitar for that matter, you have a dress, you have whatever. When you just buy, so EBITDA, EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. Okay, so these are the four things. EBITDA, EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. Now you will be knowing what is interest and you will be knowing what is tax also. Okay, so the other two things I'm just assuming that you don't know. If you are just a fresher to this, obviously you will not know, so I'm going to explain it for you. What is depreciation, right? What is depreciation? You buy a product. It can be a table, it can be a dress like what I'm wearing, it can be a hairband, it can be a guitar or a machine. Whatever you're buying, it's not going to just be the same, right? It is going to have some problem later because it gets worn off, right? As you use a thing that you have got, it has to depreciate. Matlab, the value of it is it's going to keep on coming down because it's used, right? So with use, the value of a product depreciates or comes down. Now this is called as depreciation. So whatever value, when you just calculate it in rupees, in monetary ways, the amount which comes as the value which is calculated due to it getting bad, due to it being used, due to the product getting older, is called as the depreciation. Okay, so that interest, tax and one more thing which is called as amortization is not to be calculated in EBITDA. Okay, so now what is amortization? Amortization is the repayment of loan principal amount. Okay, so what is the principal amount in a loan? So that is a very basic thing. So if you don't know, because many people don't know, it's very normal to not know. Everybody has to start with step number 1, and these are all things that you will just keep on learning. Okay, so don't worry. Now what is the principal amount? You go to a bank and you take a loan, right? Let's just think that you have taken 20,000 rupees loan. Okay, you've gone to a bank, you've taken 20,000 rupees loan, and the bank has also given you 20,000 rupees on one agreement. So what is that? They are asking you to give an interest payment every month of 10%. Okay, so what is 10% interest? You have taken 20,000 rupees. So 20,000 rupees divided by 10,000 rupees. 20,000 rupees divided by 10, right? So that is the stuff that you will have to pay as interest every month. So that will account to 2,000 rupees. So 2,000 rupees is the interest amount, that is 10% of 20,000 rupees that you have taken as loan, which you will be paying every month to the bank. So now this is the interest, and the 20,000 rupees that you had taken is the principal amount. Okay, so that is the amount that you have to give to the bank, or the amount that you owe to the bank, okay, because of the loan you had taken. Now in that 20,000 rupees, let's imagine that you have already settled some 10,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees. You have already given 12,000 rupees back, okay, and you've been paying the interest also. So how much is the balance? You have 8,000 rupees which has to be paid. Now this 8,000 rupees becomes the principal amount. The balance which is remaining for you to go and pay in the bank, that is the principal amount. The whole amount or the remaining amount is called as the principal amount, okay. Now we know what is a principal, we know what is amortization. See, amortization is the repayment of loan principal over time, okay. So that is the process, and it has a name which is called as amortization. So what is EBITDA? I told you it is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. So now you know what is depreciation, you know what is amortization, you know what is the principal, and all these economic terms are done. Now this is how you have to study for this. So there is nothing more which is like very important in this particular news. So let's move to the next one, okay. The next one is government picks advisors for Pawan Hans divestment, okay. Government picks advisors for Pawan Hans divestment. So what is the important thing in this particular news from the UPSC point of view? See, divestment. Now you have to know what is divestment. Have you heard anything called disinvestment? Now if you okay, so let's just move on to the next news which is important from the business section. See, government picks advisors for Pawan Hans divestment. So what is divestment? Economic term. I told you whenever it comes, it's important. Divestment is the same as disinvestment. If you had come across the other word which is very similar, which is exactly similar to divestment, is disinvestment, okay. So what is that? The most simplest ways in which I can explain is the opposite of investment. You know what is investment, right? So if you want to buy a land, if you want to buy anything, you just invest in it, isn't it? I'm investing on a land right now so that later its value will increase and I can make good money out of it. So that is investment. So now investment's opposite is disinvestment or divestment, okay. So what are you going to do in this? Invest is like you are buying things. So in disinvestment or divestment, you're going to sell the things. Simple. Okay, this is the simplest thing that you have to know. Investment's opposite is divestment or disinvestment. That means selling of things, because investment means that you are buying things. Okay, so this is what it is. And now, so to do this, what's happening in the news, it's given. The Department of Investment and Public Asset Management has appointed legal and transaction advisors. Okay, so what do we have to take home from this line? It is the department which is given. You should know this particular department is very much connected with disinvestment and divestment and investment processes. So what is that? Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. That is DIPAM. D-I-P-A-M. DIPAM. So what does DIPAM stand for? It stands for Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember from this particular news article. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next important business news. See, investment by SoftBank Group's Vision Fund to boost Flipkart's war chest past $4 billion help fuel growth. Okay, so this is the news that is given. So what is the stuff that we have to understand from the UPSC point of view? Let's see. Now SoftBank, what is SoftBank? SoftBank is a Japanese billionaire company. Okay, this is the first thing that you have to know. It is a billionaire group, Japanese billionaire group, so which is now going to fund Flipkart. You know Flipkart because like it's there on the TV, it has these cute ads, right? How can people forget? We all know that. So for Flipkart, this particular billionaire group that is called as SoftBank is going to fund, and that too majorly. Okay, so let's see the implications. Now what happens? Amazon, this is a static fact. Amazon is one of the world's biggest online retailer. Amazon, you know, you must have ordered products from that, no, online. So Amazon is the biggest online retailer, And India has a fast expanding e-commerce market. So what is e-commerce? Anything, commerce is trade, right? Whenever e comes, you know that it's just related to computers, so, or online professions. So e-commerce is the trade which happens through online transactions, isn't it? So India has a fast expanding e-commerce market. You should be knowing through Paytm and all that. So we have a really expanding e-commerce market. And what's happening? Amazon, we know that it is the world's biggest retailer, online retailer, and now Flipkart is being funded big time by this billionaire group which is called as SoftBank. Okay, so these are the things you have to know. And then what Amazon was doing is it was planning on expanding majorly. It was just thinking of just making a big budget expansion here in India. Now what happened? This comes as a shock to Amazon, and in fact, like all the other players which are in the same arena, almost all the competitors, including Amazon, will be overtaken by Flipkart by just huge amount being injected inside Flipkart's economy. Okay. Now, Flipkart is a Bangalore-based company, so this is also a static thing that you have to know. It is fact, and UPSC loves facts, so just throw facts here and there while you're just writing the answers in mains. And this SoftBank, that is a Japanese billionaire company, is going to give mix of primary and secondary capital. So what is capital? Another economic term, I already discussed this. But then capital is anything, be it money or a machine or cloth, fabric or vegetables, whatever it is that you need to make a particular product that you require, right? The raw materials and all these things that you need to make a product is called as capital. Okay, so now this Flipkart is going to have a lot of money invested in both primary capital and secondary capital. Who's going to give it? SoftBank is going to give it. Now, these are shares or equity of that company, which are very important. So they are going to invest in equity or shares. I told you what is equity or share. Share and equity are the same thing. Like divestment and disinvestment are same things. Now shares and equity are the same thing. By getting shares, what happens is you are becoming partially an owner with more of responsibility. I already discussed this. Okay, now so now what happens is the small bank corporation is going to invest in primary capital, that is equity or shares. So it will become a major shareholder, making it scary and competitive for Amazon and other players in the market. So what will happen? I'm going to tell you two words that these are words that you have to just write when you write your mains examination. So this will give Flipkart market leadership. It's very easy, right? Market leadership will be gotten by Flipkart, right? Now, it will also enable Flipkart to make market consolidation. What is market consolidation? Consolidation is to make your position strong, like stone, like you're there to stay kind of thing. So you're just going to use a lot of words like market leadership and market consolidation. So Flipkart is getting market leadership and market consolidation through this small bank, which is going to majorly invest in Flipkart, and because of that Amazon and other players are going to have a very hard time. Amazon had plans of just increasing, injecting a lot of money and expanding its position in India's e-commerce platform, but now it's going to be really competitive. Okay, it's going to be very difficult for anyone. Now, what else? There is another static fact, you can just quote it. See, India remains the world's fastest growing online market, with sales forecast to reach $64 billion by 2021. Okay, and this is given by US market researcher Forrester Research. I will just read it again for you. India remains the world's fastest growing online market. So the sales forecast which is given is $64 billion by the year of 2021, and this is given by the US market researcher Forrester Research. So that's all. These are the important things as far as this news is concerned. Let's move to the next one. Let's discuss the next important economic news. So it reads like this: food subsidy bill estimated to shoot up to rupees 1.46 lakh crore by financial year 2020. So let's see what is important from the UPSC point of view. See, now the government is going to reduce the petroleum subsidy in the coming 3 years. In the coming 3 years, government is looking into just reducing the subsidy which is available for petroleum. Now, if you're thinking what is subsidy, let me tell you what subsidy is. Subsidy is a simple concept. It just means discount or reducing the rate or rebate. Okay, so government actually gives, I'll give you an example. The LPG cylinders which everybody use in their house are available in the market by private sellers for a certain price, which is like 1,500 or 2,500 rupees, right? Now, when you're not buying it from the private individual, and if you go and buy it in the subsidized rate which is given by the government, then you will get the same LPG cylinder for 400 rupees or 500 or 600 rupees. Now, this is the difference. So if you buy from a private individual, you have to just pay 1,500 or 2,000 rupees for the same LPG cylinder, but it's available in subsidized rates. Who gives these subsidies? The government gives these subsidies for 400 or 600, so you can avail that. So what is happening now in the coming 3 years? Government is saying that it is going to reduce the subsidy which is given to petroleum. So petroleum subsidy is going to come down. So there is another area which is a fertilizer subsidy. Fertilizer subsidies are very, very important because India is an agricultural economy. So fertilizer plays a very important part in this. So the subsidy or the discounted price at which the fertilizers are available to the farmers are going to stay stagnant. Okay, there is no change in that, no change in fertilizer subsidy. Petroleum is going to reduce, the subsidy for petroleum is going to reduce, for the fertilizers it's going to be the same, and for food subsidy, the food subsidy bill is going to be hiked. Okay, that's going to increase. And there's an other announcement which was made. The public spending which the government has been doing for quite a while is going to be stagnant. Okay, that also is not bound to change. It's going to continue. Who is giving all these kind of estimates? You should be thinking by now. So who is the person who gives? It is the finance ministry. So finance ministry has told all these things, that is the petroleum subsidy is going to reduce, the food subsidy is going to increase, the fertilizer subsidy is going to stay stagnant, and the public spending which the government has been doing before is going to be continued now as well. So what is public spending? Public spending is nothing. It's just the amount of money that the government spends for utility purposes for the people. Like for example, the roads, the bridges that we have, the lifts and the railways, and all these kind of provisions which are given for the use of its citizens is called as the public spending, the money which is allocated by the government for all these spending in these public assets for our use. Okay, so this is going to continue now. So what happens when these public assets are being concentrated so much, and when the government is investing so much of money into it, what happens is these amenities are being available, like for example the metro, right? Metro, if you're a person who is living in Delhi, you will be knowing the cost difference which is making a lot of life very easy, and it's making much cheaper, right? The livelihood, the lifestyle of a normal person in Delhi requires very little of money as far as transport is concerned if he or she is using metro as the commutation, right? So if they're using metro for commutation, because it's hardly 10 rupees or something for kilometers, where you have to pay hundreds of rupees if you're taking an auto, or if you're just going to put your money in petrol or diesel. So these are things that government makes it very easy for its citizens. That is called as public spending. So what happens when a person is actually spending less money, when he is spending less money for transport or anything through using the amenities which are provided by the government, he is saving a lot of money. When he is saving a lot of money, he starts thinking that he should just make better use of the opportunities available, and probably he will start startups. He will just make his business better. He will spend more money and give more opportunities and different lifestyle and higher lifestyle for his family. So they will have mental peace. They will also study better. They will also want to just aspire to become more. So basically they will also earn a lot of money, and that money will be giving taxes. And when those taxes come, the taxes will automatically be paid as indirect taxes and direct taxes, which also go to the government. And when the government is receiving the taxes will be used for various useful purposes. Don't think about corruption, leave the corruption out, but it will be used for many different good purposes. So this is a cycle which always inevitably results to the economic growth of a country. Okay, so that's why public spending is something very, very good. Some countries even keep insisting that everybody should be urged to use public transport. Public transport is a very, very important thing in many countries. Like, you know, even the millionaires and billionaires prefer to just travel through the public transport. There is a saying that the more the billionaires and the millionaires start using the public transport and public amenities, the better the country's economy. Okay, so these are things that you can use for your mains answer writing. And now let's just go to the next thing, which is see, the capital expenditure. I told you what a capital is. Anything which is required to open a company, start a company. The basic raw materials or the important items you need to make a particular product is called as a capital. Now capital expenditure, I told you economic terms are very important. So capex, C-A-P-E-X, what is that? Capital expenditure. Now what is that? See, the money spent by a company or organization on fixed assets. For example, it's the land or machine or building, etc., which you require for a company, right? These are all fixed assets. So if you're going to do the expenditure or spend money on these kind of things, it is called as capital expenditure. Now here we are actually talking about the government. Okay, so when government is concerned, what is the capital expenditure? It's for defense, it's for railways, it's for building roads, transport and urban development. What is urban development? The city ka development. Okay, so these are the things which will become capital expenditure of the government. When we take big organizations, it automatically becomes like this. Now, what else we have to discuss? Yeah, the finance ministry has also said that GST shock, right? The goods and services tax is something which is the change in the tax regime which has come this year effective. So now there were lots of shocks. There was different reactions by different individuals. Now there is a basic shock. So the government has said the GST shock will be combated. It will just take a little time, but everything is going to return to normalcy. This is what the government has said. And now see, the ministry says that the tax to GDP ratio will remain the same like last year, which was 11.3%. So what is this? Tax to GDP. Tax divided by GDP, that proportion or that particular percentage is not going to change. This is what the government has said in the news right now. It is going to remain the same like last year. And what was it last year? It was 11.3%. And they are saying, the government has come out with an announcement saying that it is going to be 11.3% only this year also. The tax to GDP ratio. You know what a tax is, right? Indirect or direct, whatever is being collected by the government on basic goods and products is called as the tax, right? Which the government will be using for various purposes. Now, what is GDP? GDP is another economic term, a very basic term that you have to know, which is the gross domestic product. Simple. It's each and everything which is produced inside the territory of a country. Be it a tire, be it this hairband, be it this door, be it the marble, be it the tiles, be it makeup stuff, be it cars, be it land. So what is GDP? GDP is the gross domestic product. This is a very basic thing that you have to know. What is NNP? What is GDP? Right now I will just do it very fast, and later I will definitely be doing videos on the static portions, which GDP, NNP, what is that, the definitions, how it is used, how can you write it in your mains, and what kind of questions are expected for the preliminary examination from this angle. Everything will be dealt with, and I will be making a separate video on that. But now, as of now, I will tell you what a GDP is. It's gross domestic product. Okay, so what is gross domestic product? Anything and everything which is produced, from a safety pin till a car, till a bus or truck. Every single product or thing or good which is produced inside the territory of a country is called as GDP, gross domestic product. So what are we talking about in this particular news? We were just talking about the tax to GDP ratio, because the government has said, it's come out with an announcement on August 11th that the tax to GDP ratio is not going to change. It's just going to remain the same thing which was last year, that is 11.3%. So this year also the government has said that the tax to GDP ratio is going to be 11.3% only. Okay, so what is the other thing that you have to know here? the government has said that in the next couple of years, the effects of demonetization, you know, demonetization, what happened, right? So because of that and expansion, the effects of demonetization and the expansion of tax base will have a positive effect. Okay, they are saying that the demonetization and the expansion of the tax base, both these things will give positive effects later in a couple of years. Okay, you know what is demonetization, because it just happened, right? They phased out or they took off all the earlier old 500 notes and 100 rupee notes, and they replaced with the new 500 notes and 2000 rupee notes. So that was demonetization for you. And what is increasing of tax base? The number of people who are actually paying the taxes. Okay, the number of people who are paying tax, that is the tax base. So the government is saying because of demonetization and increase of the tax base, these two things are going to have positive effects in the coming couple of years. Okay, they're going to basically increase the number of people who are paying the taxes to the government. Okay, so these are all things that the government has announced. And then what is important after this is, I already said, see, in starting that the government wants to give lots of subsidies, right? No, I said that the government will be spending a lot. That is in public spending. Example, food, fertilizer, fuel subsidies for but okay, now see, the government has abolished price controls. This is a fact you have to know. The government has abolished price controls on diesel and petrol prices. The government has abolished price controls on diesel and petrol prices. This is a fact that you have to keep in mind. Now the government is thinking about kerosene and LPG. Okay, the government is thinking about kerosene and LPG, and the government wants to abolish LPG subsidy. So I was just talking about the LPG subsidy, how we are getting it in reduced prices. Now the government has plans of abolishing or doing away with or taking it away. The subsidy will not be available later. That's what the government wants to do. Okay, now how it's planning to do that? It is thinking of increasing the LPG price by 4 rupees every single month. Okay, so every single month 4 rupees will keep on increasing. Okay, that's how they plan to just increase the amount which we spend on LPG. The subsidy amount will just keep on increasing by 4 rupees every month, and then later it will become a higher amount, where the subsidy or the rebate or the discount that was available before will no longer be available. 1 month 4 rupees, next month 8 rupees, next month, like that they'll keep on increasing the LPG price till they get to the normal market value of the LPG cylinder. Okay, this is what the government wants to do. Now, what do you think? Do you think this is a good move? Do you think it is a bad move? Or do you think it's very neutral kind of idea that you have on this? Because poor people are the ones who just really benefit from the LPG subsidy, because they need LPG for making their food and everything, and the government has been giving it in very cheap prices. Now the government wants to increase the prices. So is it good for the nation, bad for the nation, good for the rural society? How will it actually help us take the economy forward? These are the angles or questions that you have to think and make your own opinions about. Okay, advantages, disadvantages, and from the neutral point of view you should be able to analyze the situation. So please do that for your mains answers. Now let's just talk about the government putting efforts to bring kerosene subsidy under the DBS. Okay, so what is that? Kerosene subsidy is also available right now, so the government is thinking about bringing that also under the scheme of DBS. So DBS is the direct benefit system, or the DBT is direct benefit transfer. Okay, so this is what they want to do, so that, like, you know, the people directly get the money which they're supposed to get in the form of subsidies. It will just go and get deposited in their bank accounts. Okay, so the work, whatever has to be done, is being done already. Now there is another point you have to know. 80 crore beneficiaries are there under NFSA. Okay, what is that? National Food Security Act. NFSA is the National Food Security Act. So there are 80 crore beneficiaries. What are beneficiaries? Who are beneficiaries? The people who are benefiting from a certain act, from a certain provision, from a certain subsidy or rebate are called as the beneficiaries. People who are benefiting from that. So there are 80 crore beneficiaries who are enjoying the NFSA, that is the National Food Security Act provisions and stuff like that. Now, the government said reforms have started in some 6 states. Okay, automation has started in some 6 states. And they are all going digital. The all fair price shops and all, no, where you get all the reasonable price stuff, you know, goods you get in very reasonable prices. So these are all just being revamped. Okay, they're all trying to go digitally, and the government started doing the work in that particular area and bringing 72% ration cards along with the Aadhaar numbers. Okay, they want to bring 72% of the ration cards along with the Aadhaar numbers. So this is also being done. Now, one of the main reasons for increasing the food subsidy, I already told you, the food subsidy is going to be increased. Okay, so what is the reason? Because they want to just do a repayment to the FCI. Now, what is an FCI? What is the, I told you, whenever you have these kind of abbreviations, you need to know the expansion of it. That is the Food Corporation of India. So, what is the main reason for increasing the food subsidy? Because they need to make the repayment of FCI to the NSSF. Okay, the Food Corporation of India, that is the FCI, owes some money to NSSF, that is the National Small Savings Fund. So that is why government is thinking of increasing the money it's spending on food subsidy. Okay. Now, let's move to the next one. Interest payments are the largest components of government's revenue expenditure. Okay, this is also a static economic concept or an economic keyword that you have to just know very clearly for your prelims and the mains. Now, let's see. So, where are we getting the money from? The revenue expenditure is being done by the government. So, for doing that, where do we get the maximum money from? The government gets it from the interest payments. So, the Indian government has given lots of loans, right? The government to government always give lots of loans. Somebody is helping, somebody is receiving, somebody is giving, somebody is paying the interest. You know, this always happens between countries also, just like individuals and banks. So we also have given loans to many countries and we receive interests from them. Okay, so these interest payments which are coming to our country, which is coming inside India's government, is the main source from which we are making our revenue expenditure. Now, what is revenue expenditure? If you are thinking what is revenue expenditure is, well, there are two different types of expenditures. I told you this is a static question that you have to know. The two type of expenditures, one is capital expenditure, the other one is revenue expenditure. CAPEX, you remember, CAPEX, capital expenditure, I already told you, so you can just rewind. And now we come to revenue expenditure also. Anyway, I will tell money which is being spent to buy and maintain or improve fixed assets. So basically money which is being spent on fixed assets such as building, such as land. These are the capital expenditure. So capital is like big things which are fixed assets, like for example machine or land or building. Clear? So that is CAPEX for you. So what is revenue expenditure, capital expenditure we have seen. Now revenue expenditure is also something similar, much easier. The money which we spend for temporary stuff, like, you know, for maintaining a particular machine, repair has happened, okay, you have to just do the repair, so you're spending some money for that, and you cannot just have the guarantee that no repair will come later, you know, or in the future. So this is a recurring expense which will keep on coming in regular intervals of time. So this is not a permanent fix. It is an expenditure or an expense or spending which occurs on a regular basis. Okay, so that is the revenue expenditure for you. And is there anything else? Yeah, the government wants to help people by investing on. Okay, so let's see next important economic news from the Hindu. See, it reads fact rap SEBI for shell company diktat sans probe. Okay, so what does this mean? There are some 2-3 points only which are majorly important from this particular news. What is SEBI? I think you should be knowing Security Exchange Board of India. Okay, if you don't know, you should be knowing, and you will get to know, because this will keep coming again and again, because it is one of the most important regulator that our country India has. Okay, SEBI, SEBI. Now SEBI and two companies are having a problem. One side there is SEBI, and the other side there are two companies and they have a problem. Now we just read SAT, right? SAT. What is SAT? Now that is Securities Appellate Tribunal. So SAT is Securities Appellate Tribunal. So what is a tribunal? If you don't know what a tribunal is also a kind of court. Okay, tribunal is also a kind of court, but it can deal with only certain kind of cases. Okay, because when it's a court, it can deal with criminal, it can deal with civil cases, it can deal with pretty much all the kind of cases under the sun. So that is a normal court, which is High Court, Supreme Court, or subordinate courts. Right now, when it comes to tribunal, there are these are the courts which are dealing only specific or certain kind of matters, not all the matters. Now this one, for example, it is a Securities Appellate Tribunal. So what will happen in this particular tribunal, in this kind of court, what will happen, or tribunal, what will happen? Only the matters which are related to securities will be dealt with. Okay, so you got that. That is static portion. Now we come to the starting. So that is, we have two companies on this side and we have the SEBI on the other side, Securities Exchange Board of India. So SEBI and these two companies are having a problem. So the two companies have gone and said, they've gone and approached the tribunal. When we have a problem, we go to the court, right? We approach the court. So when a company has a problem, the company is going to this tribunal, that is the Securities Appellate Tribunal, and launching a complaint on SEBI, saying that the SEBI has made us look like bad people. Our companies are nice and we do not do any illegal activities. So basically, I will tell you one more important economic concept which will come again and again in the papers, which is called a shell company. Okay, it's HELL company. So what is a shell company? Let's take a normal example, like the tortoise. Okay, you have a tortoise and the tortoise is hiding inside the shell, right? So whenever it's afraid, when it wants to just go inside and feel safe, it goes inside the shell, and that the shell is acting as a protection or a cover, right? The word cover is important here. So when there is a pearl also, you have the shell which is covering the shell, the moti, right? It is being covered by the shell. So when somebody wants to cover certain activities, they have a shell. Okay, now we are coming to the industries or the companies. So there are companies who are involved in illegal activities. Okay, let's just assume there are companies which are involved in illegal activities. So what they will do, they will form a shell company. Shell company is what? Cover, right? I told you there is a cover to cover what? The illegal or wrong activities that the company is doing. So basically there will not be any trade activities, no trade, non-trading companies are called as the shell companies. There will not be any financial transactions or trade which is actually happening. Everything will be happening undercover, matlab illegal. Okay, these things are illegal. So what has happened now is that SEBI has said two companies to be illegal companies or shell companies, and that too has happened without investigation. This is what? This is the allegation that the two companies are putting against, raising against SEBI. So the two companies are saying that SEBI has told that two companies of ours are shell companies, and that our companies are bad, and that our companies are doing illegal activities. But these two companies are saying that no, we are good companies and SEBI is doing a wrong action, and that it has put a lot of trade sanctions right now, trade restrictions right now. So we are filing a complaint, we are filing a case in the SAT tribunal, the Securities Appellate Tribunal. So two companies have gone to SAT, that is the Security Appellate Tribunal, and said that no, SEBI has done wrong, we are not illegal companies, we are not shell companies, and because of that you cannot stop our trading activities through restrictions. So this court, this tribunal thing was heard, and it is decided a stay has been gotten by the two companies. So now what has happened? The two companies have won the problem which was between SEBI and the two companies. So the two companies have a stay in their hand right now. So SEBI cannot stop or put restrictions on their trade activities. So what is happening right now? The other companies also, there are some 331 shell companies, okay? So these 331 shell companies also will think, let's also go and appeal to the SAT, okay? That is the Securities Appellate Tribunal. We'll also go and put our case in the SAT, and we'll also get a stay. We will also cancel all the trade restrictions which is put on us by SEBI. Did you understand that? Let's just move on to the next. So let's just move on to the next important thing that we can discuss in the economic section from the Hindu. See, surplus transfer to center lowest since 2011-12. So what is this? There is a surplus transfer. Okay, surplus transfer. This is an economic term. So surplus transfer always takes place every single year. RBI, that is the central bank of the country, that is the Reserve Bank of India, always transfers a surplus amount, a certain amount to the government, okay? And it has really become low this particular year. In fact, it has become less than 50%, and that is the lowest since 2011-12. So just imagine, this is a serious issue because every time nearly 80% of the surplus is being transferred to RBI. Okay, past 3 years the RBI transferred 80% of surplus, but now less than 50% is only being transferred. And why did this problem happen? Because of demonetization. Okay, this is the reason which is being said. Because of demonetization, the surplus of RBI which is transferred to the government has become less than half. Okay, only this much of money, less than half, is being transferred to the government from the RBI, which happens every year, which is the lowest since 2011-12. Now, the State Bank of India Chief Economist Soumya, she has to say this. Maybe the reason is seigniorage. What is seigniorage? Seigniorage is another economic term, and that means the difference between value of money which is printed to the cost it took to produce it. Okay, the value of money which is printed to the cost it took to just make or print that particular money, that amount of money. So this difference is called as a seigniorage. Now, why are we talking about that? Because we had demonetization, and demonetization was simple. We had the 500 rupees notes and the 1000 rupees notes which were phased off. They were phased off, and new notes of 500 and 2000 rupees were printed. So RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, has printed lots of new currency to combat the problem of invalid notes due to demonetization. There was a lot of invalid notes which was doing the rounds during the problem of during the introduction of demonetization. So because of that, this led to, okay, the next news, very small and nothing is there, but something which is there around this topic is there, so I will tell you that DRL unit loses EU GMP tax. So EU is the European Union. So it is DRL is a pharmaceutical company which manufactures medicine and all that. Okay, so what is happening? I will just tell you about the generic medicines. What are generic medicines? These are low cost medicines. This is what you have to just listen to. Generic medicines are low cost medicines, and India is very famous for manufacturing these low cost drugs or low cost medicines, and we export this to a lot of different countries. Now what has happened is, this DRL is a pharmaceutical company from Hyderabad, and they were exporting a lot of generic medicines to the European Union, and which is including Germany and UK. So now there is a problem with them because they are losing that particular business. Now you know what is a generic medicine is. Generic medicines are the low cost medicines. We are a professional as far as generic medicines are concerned because we manufacture a lot of them and we export the generic medicines to many countries. Low cost life saving drugs are made in India and exported. Okay, so that's important from this. That's it.